Hello, viewers. Welcome back to another engaging episode of Manager's Mantra, where we connect with industry leaders who are shaping the future of business management. Today, we have with us Brad Sugars, founder of Action Coach, a business coaching firm. Brad's work focuses on what matters most to business owners: growth, profitability, systems, leadership, and building businesses that don't depend entirely on the owner. Most recently, Brad was in India for the Action Coach Global Conference 2026, bringing together coaches and business leaders from across the world for conversations around growth, leadership, systems, and the future of business. So, without waiting further, let's jump into this insightful discussion.
Hi, Brad. A very good morning and a welcome to this new session of Manager's Mantra. So, very glad to have you today with us and thank you for joining in.
I'm super happy to be here and happy to be in India and teaching a lot of amazing young students today.
Great. So, let's start discussing the questions, Brad. My first question to you is you have coached thousands of businesses across industries and geographies. Now, looking at today's economic landscape, what do you think are the three biggest mistakes entrepreneurs continue to make while trying to scale?
Well, I think the first thing is that they put supply ahead of demand. They focus on delivering the product. Like if they're in the cookie business, they want to make the world's best cookie rather than the best cookie marketing and the best cookie branding. Demand has to come ahead of supply in great businesses if you're looking to scale. Now, the second thing is, and there's two things you cannot scale in business. You cannot scale chaos and you cannot scale genius. So let me explain both of those. If the business is not systematized, if the business is not delivering consistency, if the business is all in the owner's head, then it's not a consistent business. Therefore, you're trying to scale chaos. And the bigger you get, the messier it gets, if that makes sense. It doesn't make it easier when it gets bigger. It actually makes it harder when it gets bigger. The second one, you can't scale genius. So, for example, I'm in the business coaching business. For me to scale, I have to actually develop systems that allow an ordinary business coach to be amazing. So the systems have to deliver amazing. The third biggest mistake, and I'll plain this one's very simple to understand, they're too cheap. They go out too cheap. They try to be the cheapest in the market, and you can't make a profit being the cheapest in the market. You've got to add great value, deliver good service, and be good at your sales and marketing so that really great customers want to buy from you. But then second, where profit comes from in business is repeat business. If there's no repeat business, there's no profit. So don't be cheap and build a product or service where people come back again and again and again, like a membership or a subscription.
Thank you, Brad. Brad, many founders today believe growth is driven by funding. Now, you have often argued that systems matter more than capital. Could you please elaborate on this philosophy?
Yeah, look, one of the biggest challenges for an SME is actually getting funding. One of the challenges for a new business is getting funding. So a lot of them focus so much on getting funding, they forget that you could fund your own business by building great sales, great marketing systems, and just going out there and making money. We call that bootstrapping, I guess, but ultimately, real business success comes down to making the sales, getting the customers, and keeping them coming back. Now, with those things in mind, marketing systems, sales systems, delivery systems, you can have all the funding in the world, but if you don't make good sales and do good marketing, it doesn't matter how much funding you have, you will run out of funding at some point. The other thing that's important to remember is the people that are going to fund you, the investors, will look at your systems. The investors will look at how are you going to make money? How will you get the customer back? What is going to drive the business? So remember, getting funding, a big part of it is having the right systems in place and creating that demand we already talked about.
Brad, we spoke about entrepreneurs in the first question. Now, in your experience, what differentiates entrepreneurs who build enduring companies from those who simply build successful businesses?
Well, if you want to build an enduring company, you have to remember this one philosophy, and I'll explain how in a minute. The philosophy is if you build your people will build your business. If you believe that just building a business, you might build a successful company and you might build a successful organization for a period. But the greatest enduring companies is where you build your people. Let me explain that. There's 3 stages of business growth. Number one stage is you with helpers. So it's you as the guru. You're the superstar. You're doing most of the work. You control the business. Now, the problem is that phase of business, what makes you successful at phase one stops you getting to phase two. Phase one would go to, say, a million US, 10, 100 million here sort of thing. And then phase two is going to 10 million US, the bigger market. Well, what you've got to do is yourself, and you've got to build managers. Okay. So phase one is you and helpers. Phase two is you becoming a leader and you building managers into your organization. Then phase three, to get past 10 million US to 100 million US, then we start thinking about how do we build leaders. So you become the CEO and build other chiefs, other leaders in the organization. So businesses that are enduring understand that build your people and you build your business.
Wonderful, Brad. I'm sure that will inspire a lot. Uh, Employee expectations have changed dramatically over the past few years. We often spoke about employee well-being. That's a major concern nowadays, with
Mm.
rising expectations of productivity from them. Now, how should leaders balance productivity with flexibility and employee well-being?
Well, I think that what we've got to understand is that the generational shift has caused this. If we look at self actualization, there are more people today focused on why we are doing things. So the first thing a leader has to do today is look at why are we in business? And it can't just be to make money anymore. If it's just to make money, then the business will struggle. There has to be some form of a mission. What is the business doing over and above that? Now, that then leads us to understanding that what motivates people isn't just money. What motivates people is what are they going to learn? How are they going to grow? How will it develop their career? How will it help them in the future? Does that make sense? It's like we've got to understand what motivates our people first. So, balancing productivity with flexibility and employee well being, I don't believe that they are separate. I believe they actually go hand in hand. An employee who we're taking care of their well being is more engaged. So, where there is meaning, there is happiness. Where there's happiness, there's engagement. Where there's engagement, there is productivity. So, I don't believe they are separate. I believe that by taking care of our people and building and giving them a reason to come to work, a reason to enjoy their work, helping them build community at work. Because remember, even though people are more connected than they've ever been, they're still getting lonelier than they've ever been. So people's community is often at work. Where they build friends is at work. So we need to make sure that we're building a great community for people. Because if you want to keep the best people, you've got to have a culture that they enjoy coming to work.
That was really so insightful, Brad. Moving on to my next question, in throughout our life, learning, we are always learning. It's the learning curve is always there. Uh, Now, looking back at your career, what was the most important business lesson for you that no book or mentor could have prepared you for?
Yeah, so I always think of it this way. You think you're building a business, the reality is the business is building you. It's like when you're an entrepreneur, it's the best personal growth program there is because that tough customer came to teach you more about patience, and that employee got to, those sorts of things. The hardest lesson is not usually a business lesson, it's not a marketing strategy or a sales strategy. The hardest lessons I find in most cases are personal lessons. For me, the hardest one was learning to let go and allow and trust my employees. When I first started in business, I thought I had to be the hardest working person in the business. And that's right in the beginning. But ultimately, I have to learn to let go and allow and trust my people, to build managers and trust them. So, being a bit of a control freak, I guess, wanting to be in control, allowing my team to do the work changed dramatically what happened with the business. Once I let them and allowed them and trusted them, it's amazing how much more they achieved because I didn't get in their way, if that makes sense.
Brad, my next question is a bit skill related. we all of us know that how important sales is for any
Mhm.
businesses today. It doesn't matter however good or however quality product you build, that product has to do well in the market. That product has to be well accepted by your customers, has to sell well. That's where you generate revenue from, you make profits, and then you scale your business probably. Now,
Mm.
in MBA, we have different verticals. Students from MBA HR, students aspiring, in finance, in sales. How important is sales as a career skill? Should every MBA student learn how to sell irrespective and regardless of their specialization?
Well, everyone in business is in sales, whether you're selling an idea to your boss, whether you're selling a concept to your team, whether you're selling a product to a customer, we're all in sales. So, what is sales? Sales is communication. Should we all learn communication? Yes, a leader needs communication, a manager needs communication, a team member who's learning to communicate with their boss needs communication. So, we all need to understand sales. The other thing that is sales today, and this is an important point to remember, is that the job of marketing used to just be get a customer's name and email or name and phone number, and then sales did most of the work. In today's world, marketing is doing more of that work. Customers have changed. As a customer, we do more research today. I don't know about you, but I know myself. I get on the phone or I get on my computer and I'm tapping away. When I'm looking to buy things, I'm watching videos or reading articles or asking ChatGPT to give me a comparison between. That's why marketing and content today is a very big part of sales. So, learning to communicate, whether that's written communication, video communication, one to one communication. So, yes, you've got to learn sales, but you've also got to learn it from multiple aspects: written sales, video sales, like even me being on here with you today. This is a form of sales because it's content that maybe someone's watching it this for the first time, but maybe they're watching us in 5 years and they learn about Brad Sugar's 5 years from now, sort of thing. So I love creating content that does the selling for me for the long term.
That's a great perspective, Brad. Thank you so much. So before we wrap up the session, let's discuss the last question. Of course, many MBA students, manage young leaders, they will want to know from you that, if you are being asked to give a few suggestions to the MBA students entering an uncertain job market today, what would that be?
Probably three suggestions. Number one, be bold. Do not go into an interview and try and be, meek and nice about it. Go in and be bold. Impress people, sell yourself, make a contribution to that thing. Now, that doesn't mean be rude or be obnoxious. It means be bold. State something, say something, be confident in yourself. Don't sit back and hope they pick you. Make it so that you stand out so that they can only think, oh, who was that person that really stood out? Yes. Number two part of being bold is keep emailing. Don't just think I did an interview, so that's great. Email after the interview, send them information further, tell them you loved the interview, that you think their company is amazing, research their company, do those things. You've got to be bold in going for jobs today. You've got to stand out. That brings me to point number two. Remember that the person who's doing the hiring, their job is to not mess up. They're looking for someone who will not make a mistake. They're looking for someone that others will go, oh, that was a good job that you hired that person. Well done on hiring that person, sort of thing. So I think it's important to remember that your job is to make them look good. Your job is to make them look amazing. I've always taught every person that your job is to make your manager or your leader look great. If you make them look great, then you will end up looking great, sort of thing. There's no trying to compete with your boss. You got to make them look amazing. And the third thing is, and this one's going to be a little contrarian, maybe you don't want a job. Maybe you want to start your own business. Maybe being an entrepreneur is your path, and the MBA has taught you enough that you can get to a point where you can start your own business. Now, if that's the case, I'm going to suggest one thing. Go work for a smaller business, not a large organization. small businesses with entrepreneurs that you can learn from, smaller companies where there's an amazing entrepreneur. See, I think your first few jobs should be about what you get to learn more than what you get to earn. If you're really focused on how much money you make, you'll probably miss some career defining advice by working for a boss who's willing to mentor you, coach you, help you get better. And I think it's important in the be bold part of it that you ask people for, hey, will I be mentored in this role? How will I learn? How will I be taught? What will I learn to grow? I'll do my own reading and learning, but in the role, will there be a mentor for me? Will there be a coach? Will there be someone who will help me get better while I'm working here? Important stuff.
Great points, Brad. I just need to ask you, I can't hold myself from asking you a follow-up question on this. When you said that learning for the first few years, probably learning is more important than what you earn. But do you think that kinds of works, or how do you encourage the Gen Z today who are more into achieving quick success, quick money? How do you encourage them to do that?
Look, I think there's a percentage of Gen Z and Gen Alpha coming through that do want to have that really fast success. But I think there's a percentage that understand you go job, career, calling. You start out with a job, and it doesn't matter what job in the beginning, as long as you're learning, as long as you're gaining experience, learning, making connections, that's most important. The 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 connections is something that I think young people don't understand the power of. If you get into a job that allows you to build a connection base, a database of people you get to know, those people will be important. Remember, your business career is somewhere between 30 and 50 years in your lifetime, okay? So you want to build connections, you want to build knowledge, you want to build yourself, make yourself more valuable to the marketplace. Let's be really clear. The most successful people in the world had a great mentor, a great coach, a great leader, someone that taught them how to do it. So learning is way more important than earning in the first phase of life. The way life works is learn, earn, return. Your first jobs are all about learning. See, you've paid to get the knowledge in your MBA. I want you to think of your first 4 or 5 jobs as being paid to learn. So you've had to pay for your education up till now. Your jobs going forward is where you're getting paid to gain education.
Wonderful, Brad. Amazing points. Very nicely put up. And I'm sure this will, encourage a lot of students and actually keep the Gen Z also in alignment with what you said. Amazing points. So with that, we come to the end of the session. Thank you again for taking out your precious time and agreeing to participate in this session. We are really hopeful to stay connected with you and have you again in any of the future sessions by BSmart Business Standard. Thank you, Brad.
Love being here. Everyone come jump on Instagram with me. We'll have a party and keep the learning growing every day.
That's a wrap on this episode of Manager's Mantra. Thank you, Brad, for sharing your thoughts and providing career tips to the B Schoolers. B Smart viewers, we hope you found this conversation helpful. Share your thoughts with us at bsmart.edit@bsml.in. Follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram for more such insightful and inspiring content. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing.